Today we celebrate and remember St. John Chrysostom. He was a bishop and lived in about the 4th century, modern-day Turkey. John was known as an eloquent preacher and is recognized as one of the doctors of the church, which in common language means the best of the best. When we look at the saints, there's thousands and thousands of saints, but there's only, I think, 35 or 37 doctors of the church. So this is the all-star lineup, so to speak, of the saints. And the church identifies these particular saints as saints that stand out, that have amazing lives, that have amazing writings that we can look to and read or learn from today in particular. He was such a great preacher that even his name, Chrysostom, means golden mouth or golden tongue in some translations. He was the most prolific writer in the early church, next to St. Augustine. And we still have many of his works and his sermons today. So if that's something that interests you, you want to learn a little bit more of St. John Chrysostom, it's very easy to find his stuff online. St. John's influence is widespread in the church, and his writings are referred to often in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which pretty much summarizes everything that we believe. If you've never heard of the Catechism, it summarizes and explains everything that we believe as Catholics. His reflections on prayer, the purpose of prayer, specifically the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father, are very insightful. I'd like to read one of his quotes on the Our Father to you, just to get a little taste of St. John's writings. He says, quote, "Notice how Jesus teaches us to be humble. This helps us to see that our virtue does not depend only on our work alone, but our virtue comes also from the grace of God. He asks all the faithful to pray universally for the whole world in the Lord's Prayer. It says, 'Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.' Jesus did not say, 'Thy will be done in me,' or 'Thy will be done in us,' but he said, 'Thy will be done on earth,' meaning the whole earth, so that all error may be banished from it, so that truth may take root on earth in the whole world, not just in those who pray, so that all sin and vice may be destroyed, and the life of virtue may flourish on earth just as it flourishes in heaven. This way earth may be no different from heaven." After listening to some of St. John Chrysostom's sermons, I'm sure that hopefully in that little clip, you'll never pray the Our Father the same way. It'll have a little bit more meaning to you. St. John also opens us up in the short passage from the temptation. While good, it's still a temptation to pray only for ourselves, only for our loved ones, for our small circle. But he reminds us to pray universally with the Our Father, opening ourselves up to pray for all of us, not just a select few. This prayer reminds us that Jesus taught us this prayer. When the disciples and apostles said, "Teach us to pray, Lord," this is the prayer that the Lord used. These are the words that Jesus used, and it wasn't necessarily just personal or for a small group. He prayed for the world, and he taught us to pray for the world. That's what we pray together every Mass. If you remember before we receive communion, that prayer unites us. It unites all Christians, but it unites all of us around the world. My prayer today for you is that the eloquent words of St. John Chrysostom, just this short little clip that I read for you, hopefully opens your hearts, opens your minds, so that we always keep the needs of the world at primary place, so that we are reminded that there is a unity between all of us, all of us, all of us, as brothers and sisters of the Lord. May God bless you.